Hello everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and if you would like to join me, I'm going to be painting up some of the Corvus cabal that we finished building yesterday. Immediately after building them when the stream ended, made some dinner, but then also, because it was still bright out on my neck of the woods, I went outside and I actually primed them with the Gray Seer contrast spray thing, and so that's what we're going to be painting today, mainly because I just don't want to I really hate painting skin, so we're going to be doing some contrast on the skin, and that's kind of the most important thing to get done. I'm going to try to do a better job of positioning my mic today because I got some feedback that it wasn't the best yesterday. That's okay, we can fix that. That's an easy one to fix. So headed down here. As always, if you are just joining me, please go ahead and let me know if you can see and hear me okay. That's always the most important thing. Let me point my light downward so I can tell what I'm doing. And I understand that Wednesdays are typically, I don't know, problematic. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a lot of YouTubers who do stuff on Wednesdays. Of note is Warhammer Weekly, and so I understand if there's a smaller crowd today, just because folks get into a routine. They enjoy watching those guys, and they put out awesome content. I haven't actually seen what this week's topic is. Ooh, Gillen Flesh is a lot lighter than I thought it was. Not bad, not bad. Probably not going to be the easiest thing to highlight. That's okay. Echo 127, good evening. Hope you're doing well. What are you working on, friend? In the comfort, hopefully, of your home while you're just doing some hobby. I thought I'd test out the skin tone on this little, I'm assuming the word is cabalist? I think it's cabalist. That pronunciation sounds right. You sound fine. Thank you so much. Always helps to have someone actually say it. Yeah, and so, like I said, we're just going to be painting up these dudes. I cannot express how excited I am to finally get them on the table. I've been, ever since they previewed some of the Warbands, I have just been so anxious to get these models done. And table ready, basically. Probably going to put a little more work into them than some other warbands, just because they are the one that I wanted more than anything else. Like, honestly, I painted up one of the Iron Golems, and I was like, they're not my favorite. I'm going to come back to them when I'm done with the stuff I'm more passionate about. Yeah. Just when I was about to go to bed. Sorry. Oh, that's funny. Hello, everyone. As you're pouring in, you got Vincey, Mr. Piggy, Christopher, yeah, and Thordalim, I think it's how you pronounce that. Apologies if I just totally butchered that. I'm working on some Fire Slayers today, as befitting of your profile picture, I imagine. And just ordered the Splintered Fang box. Sweet. I am, to be super honest, really hoping that Fire Slayers get added in the future. To work on. And the reason I say that is I just think they offer the settings so much. Because who else would go into such dangerous and suicidal, that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? They would, for money. Heck yeah. And so, let's see, you can turn that music up just to hope Seraphon get added too. Yeah. I mean, I live in a dream world where there's a reason for every faction being there. I always want Seraphon to be included in more things. I don't even care what it is. I feel like they have the same problem with Seraphon they do with Tyranids in 40k. Where they wrote him in such a way that's like, they can be everywhere, right? Let me turn that down just a smidge. They can be everywhere, but, you know, there's has to be a really good narrative reason for it. They don't always give them good narrative reasons and that kind of stuff, or epic stories, so you can kind of take away from some of the cool factor. And it's just like, no, man, they're a super cool army. They're the best. Jack, are you gonna finish these all tonight for tomorrow's game? No. That's gonna be my bone splitters. Which I'm also excited about. I really enjoyed playing them. I was kind of thinking about it, and like, while the bone splitters have more melee options, they focus on movement in a different way than the Corvus cabal, but they both have a lot of movement, not shenanigans, but buffs and that kind of stuff. And I just, manipulation of the whole phase, like the, what's it called? What's the ability called? Wah, that's everyone around the leader guy move crazy speeds. Not like that. Let's see. Working on the Farstriders Warband. Sweet. Farstriders are legit. Are you using those Farstriders for Underworlds, or are you using them specifically for Warcry? I'm curious. Because they are really great. Well, I'm told they're great in Underworlds. I have no idea. I haven't actually played a game of Underworlds in a while. Pretty much since I was getting the channel ready for these guys to come out. I'll tell you what, this is the exact reason that I am so happy with contrast paints. I hate painting skin. The fact that they made like, I think 3 or 4 different tones of it. Normally I'd use Fireslayer Flesh as my kind of typical. It's like a really good like middle ground warm flesh, and you can make it thinner to go lighter like that. But I went for Gilliman with this one because they're it's more pale. I like that. I like the pale skin. Let's see. Bird Boy looks so nice. I agree. Sam Cook getting my Deathwatch kill team together for Nova. Hadn't had scheduled fitting your streams lately. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Heading to Nova with some kill team. Kill team's one of those things that like I own a kill team of Death Guard, and it's just like, it's not finished being painted, but it wouldn't take much work to get it there. I was like, I should just paint that and bring it, because if I just want to play a pickup game with somebody, that'd be kind of cool. So the nice thing about doing contrast and the more, traditional painting, I'm not sure how else to word that, is that I can be really, really messy in the beginning, which if you're doing all contrast, you have to kind of, be careful, clean up your lines and that kind of stuff. But because I plan to go back over it with stuff, it gives me a little more freedom. And I'm going to go with a pretty, a scheme that's pretty close to the Studio scheme, because that's really what hooked me. Although I think at some point I will probably make another set that has more blue feathers. But yeah. See what's going on in the chat here. George Shaw, hello Doug, just ordered the Space Marine Codex. That's awesome. seems like, you know, I've heard last time a Space Marine Codex came out, for an existing edition, by that I mean the last Space Marine Codex that came out in 7th edition, there's a lot of moaning because people were like, I don't want to buy a book this soon and that kind of stuff. But based on the feedback that I've heard about the current Space Marine Codex and kind of how 40k has evolved, like I can't speak to it too much because I don't play it at various levels or hardly at all. People were really excited about that, was my point. Where in the past I've heard griping about, I don't want to buy a book this soon, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. That's cool. I'm very happy for y'all. I know my buddy Ben has been a devoted Salamanders player for as long as I've known him, and I think he said for several years beforehand. So, I'm certainly happy for him. I'm happy when everybody else is happy, pretty much. That's for the most part. Let's see. Vincey, which Warcry faction am I getting? I'm a massive fan of movement shenanigans. It depends on how you're defining the term shenanigans, which we should all say as many times as possible because Jack from Rerolling Ones hates the term. He likes movement malarkey because he's a hipster. So the Corvus Cabal, who I'm painting right now, have one form of movement manipulation, okay? Where they have abilities that will allow them to ignore vertical terrain. So if you have 5 inches of movement on a guy, and he moves 2 inches to a wall, it doesn't matter if it's 3 inches or 30 inches, he can auto go up that wall and keep going with his other 3 inches of movement. So that is one form of shenanigan malarkey manipulation. And they also get bonuses. There's abilities that get them bonuses if they come down from elevation and attack somebody. The idea being thematically they're like swooping on people. But a different kind of shenanigan, by what you're describing, is something you see with the Iron Jaws and Bone Splitters, where and that's why I love the Bone Splitters, actually, is they have an ability called Wah, which is your leader yells Wah for 3 dice, right? It's an ability that costs 3. And whatever the value of that ability is, everyone within 6 inches of him, as long as they start the move action within 6 inches, gets to add that value to their dice. And the reason I say that's awesome is because what I did before was deployed with him up front. And then for the first activation I do, I have him use the Wah ability and then wait for his first action. And then everyone's in that bubble, right? And the times I've done it, I've gotten 5s or 6s just out of luck. Their base movement is 3. All of a sudden they can move 8 inches. Now they're on the other side of that bubble. And when they go to make their second move action. So it just really just throws people forward. And is quite cool. So there's different kinds of manipulating what movement means. I think if you're talking about vertical movement, these guys are champs. Nobody. I think with the exception of Nighthaunt, they can fly, I believe. Can move quite like them. But yeah, Nighthaunt's another good one. I was more just focusing on. I'm excited to use the warbands that are brand new, so that was my first thought. But Nighthaunt, to my knowledge, if someone can correct me, I haven't seen all the abilities yet, but they don't have anything like the swooping attack that gets you bonus actions if you drop. Like, so you don't play with every aspect of verticality, I guess. But yeah, people moaning about something, never. Let's see. More Docker Lancaster. Love your cinematic Warcry battle report. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Vincey, you tend to play glass cannons. Well, I'm trying to think of the most glass cannon-y army. Like I said, I haven't seen every single. I wanted to basically play around with the game just as a observer for a while, and then I was going to go whole hog and buy all the card packs to be able to start doing like kind of like a Start Collecting Box review format thing, just going through the abilities of each army and that kind of stuff. But I wanted to play around and get some context before I start doing that, because there's a bunch of folks on YouTube's talking about stuff that they have no context for. So I don't want to be like that. Let's see. So obviously there isn't an Azir warband yet, but if there was going to be one, what do you think it would be? A free guild regiment that secretly worships chaos as primordial storm? Azir regiment. I'm not sure I understand. You mean like No, I don't think I understand. I'm sorry. Can you clarify your question, Caleb? And I will definitely answer that, because it intrigues me, but I don't understand what you're asking. And I'll try to keep an eye out for your name to make sure I don't miss it. To Cold Shoulder's point, yes, I'm sure there will be plenty. Expansions aplenty. And it would not take much to make an expansion that would drastically change the game and add a lot of cool elements to it. Which I don't want those immediately. I want to be able to kind of sit and learn the game at this level before I start drinking out of a fire hydrant. But yeah, I'm sure it's on the horizon. Let's see. Kaka, that's right. TG Disciple, hiya Doug. It's been a while since I caught a live stream. Hello. Yeah, it has been a while since I saw your name pop up. Cold Shoulder, I know I've asked this before, but what's your recipe for Realm of Beast bases? I did the... Ooh, I would have to get the specific name, but one of their texture paints, the one that's... I think it's a Grellian Dunes or something like that. One of their texture paints, the yellow kind of earthy one. And then I do a wash of the yellow wash. My hands are full right now, I can't grab it up. But the yellow wash on it, and then do a dry brush of Screaming Skull. Let's see. Played a game of AOS versus Stormcast with my Trog herd. Lots of fun. Man, those are ballistas are annoying. Certainly can be. My thing is, I'm not good at running a shooting army, and I'm not good at like picking prime targets. And I know shooting is just like a very... I mean, I think people are coming around to it now, but shooting is just one of the dominant strengths of that entire faction. I'm just like, meh. Been pretty lukewarm on my Stormcast lately. What about the not Tzeentch warband? I'm not sure which one you're referring to, because there's a whole bunch of them that fit into various categories. I'm so glad I found this playlist. I was really digging the salsa and party music last night. I was like, yeah. Let's see. Timothy Reed, hey Doug, I'm finishing off the rims on my Untamed Beasts, halfway through the Iron Golems. Awesome. That's awesome. I still have to finish building my Untamed Beasts. And then I built the Iron Golems, got them primed, and I started painting the Ogre Breacher, mainly because I wanted to test a paint scheme. So I might throw a picture of it up later, but basically it's using the Blood Angels Red contrast, but over Leadbelcher. If you haven't seen that, it makes this like metallic cherry kind of color. And then just go back over there with Balthazar Gold to like pick out the little rivets and that kind of thing that are the copper parts. And I really do like it. So it was kind of a testing bed for what to do in the future, but I'm not ready to tackle that warband quite yet. Cypher Lords, that's what you were talking about. Okay. To kind of like decide really quickly what's supposed to be skin, what's supposed to be furs, or part of her mask, I mean, because she's one of the ones that's not wearing a whole bunch of cloak. She's like, you know, the fur cloaks or with that, she's actually wearing like an outfit underneath. Let's see. Free guild. Oh, what kind of free guild regiment do I want? I don't know. You're talking about the Cities of Sigmar book. There hasn't been a city from Azir, I'm assuming is what you're talking about. I don't know. Because the only instances we really get of seeing people in Azir is like as they're leaving, which is kind of lame. I was like, no, explore this place too. I'm not sure like what those abilities would be like. That'd be kind of cool. Druin, welcome, welcome. I only see Untamed versus Iron Golems, I swear. That's actually part of the reason I wanted that battle report, regardless of the style. I just wanted to see something different. Because you're right, everyone, they got that set, and then, you know, and I will be honest, those are fantastic models, and like people should be excited, and I was certainly excited. But you know, everyone's pumping out battle reports of the exact same armies, and it's just like, that's not fun. So I already have my Stormcast ready, and Bone Splitters were like 80%. I was like, we can do this. And then when I was looking at the Corvus Mausoleum, I was like, that's another way to be different, because nobody's using that. You know, that first week, right? The first week was all about showcasing the new terrain, which, I mean, to everyone's benefit, they could demonstrate the vertical rules, but I couldn't, because Corpse Mausoleum is a one-floor terrain setup, which I do think is lame. But it is what it is. Let's see. Jay, you're a man of taste. Let's see. What do y'all think about the Tithe Part 1, and who do you think is the speaker? I have no idea. I don't really do a lot of speculation, but I am very excited to see where everything goes. Timothy, out of curiosity, have you played Warcry with the missus yet? Mine actually is keen to play. With Jess, no, because I got it the first weekend, and like she's a writer. She had a writing project due, and she was working on that weekend. And then last weekend, I kind of just hunkered down in the office to record the battle report, because it did take all weekend. It's one of the things about those narrative battle reports is it really does take all weekend, which is why I'm doing live shows throughout the week, because I didn't have time to record anything. So hopefully this weekend I can, save up my brownie points and get her to try it. I can say without a doubt that I don't know if she'll enjoy it, but I mean, I know she will be able to learn it very, very easily, because I think in terms of like keeping her interest when it comes time to learn rules, I think X-Wing was kind of like the max, and I do think this is simpler than X-Wing. So I ran I gave like basically an overview of the tutorial, but she didn't have time to actually play, so we kind of just ran through a quick semi game. So Jay, do you know of a resource of black and white images for AOS armies that one can use to kind of test color schemes on? I don't. I'm sorry. If someone else knows, can you point them in a direction? But yeah, I don't know. I've never. You mean like the kind of like the 40K color plates where you can like test schemes? I don't think I've seen anything like that for AOS. Let's see. Question. I don't know if you've ever said anything on the subject, but would you ever play Lord of the Rings? I know you've been wanting to play smaller games, and Battle Companies is great. Well, yeah, I've touched on it a couple times. Honestly, the world of Lord of the Rings just doesn't really intrigue me. I've never been a Tolkien guy. Much, and that just like horrifies some people that I just I've never liked Tolkien, but not really a huge fan. And then honestly, the biggest thing is just finding games. I think the most depressing thing is when you buy into a game system and no one's playing it. And like I've asked around multiple games. Like I asked around about Necromunda and War Machine and Hordes and all those kinds of things like that. And it's just I'm gonna go into a game only if there is a fairly reliable scene to play. You know what I mean? To actually get games in. So it's okay to be wrong. That's good. I'm wrong all the time. And I'll be wrong a lot more when I start doing 40K content. It just, I try. So I enjoyed the movies, and I tried reading the books when I was a kid. But honestly, he's so meticulous and detailed, and like I know people are like, oh my god, such good world building, that I just like. You know what's more interesting than this chair? Literally anything else. Move the plot forward. And he spends 2 pages talking about a dang chair, and then they're like, thank God the saga of the chair is over. And that's like, and then Aragorn stood and slammed his fist into a table, not knowing that the table was given to the king by this dwarf 300 years ago. Let's talk about that dwarf's table. That's kind of how I feel. That's my Doug Griggs synopsis of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's writing style. But I also understand why it's popular. Like I know people really love it. But the chair saves the world. That's funny. Are you going to write an entry for the Black Library? Nope, I am not a writer. I am a passionate presenter. But one of you should write something so that I can talk about it and be like, I knew this guy or gal when they were nobody. I encourage them to write their book, and I would love to review it on the channel. But no, I don't have the mind of a writer, like in terms of like making a good story structure, that kind of stuff. I know stuff that I want to see, but I think the first time they did the open writing competition, I tried my hand and I got about 4 paragraphs in, and I was like, oh, this is hard. So didn't last very long. Admittedly, I did try writing a Seraphon story, which is hard because at the time, well, and still currently, their lore is just very underdeveloped compared to many other factions. So I wasn't setting myself up for success. But I still want to see books about Seraphon, because they're cool as all heck. Let's see. Dave, anyone tell me which armies are more or less going to be features in the new City Battle Tome? I mean, I assume it looks like most of the Dark Elf stuff didn't go, but we don't have any official word yet, and I don't really do rumors. Does it? Doug, you got me with another clickbait thumbnail. I was about to launch everything with the super basic, like, you know, hobby hang thumbnail, but I was like, let's spice it up a little bit since we can pretty much all tell what I'm working on. So plus you got to make it fun if I'm gonna steal viewers away from Warhammer Weekly. Gotta spice it up a notch, you know? Those guys have like 3 years of content making on me. A good thumbnail is the equivalent of, like, I don't know, showing some leg. Okay. Hob is one of the best books of all time. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, I kind of fell behind here. Kenzie is entering the contest. Sweet. Ryan, your battle report inspired me to make a Stormcast Warband. Sweet, that's awesome, man. Oh, crap, just dropped my mouse. I'm a professional YouTuber. Vinci, 100% that die mechanic almost had me checked out. Don't really like it still, honestly. The die mechanic in Warcry of, like, ability dice, because I think that's one of the most intriguing things that there is. So I'm curious if that's what you're talking about, the die mechanic. I don't really know about Lord, if you're talking about Lord of the Rings, but I was talking about that could be different, but... Connor, how's everyone doing? Doing well, my friend. Let's see. Kinsey, your work doesn't have to be 500 words, but the sample does. So write your whole thing and then pick the most attractive 500 word brick. Do Seraphon even have a battle tome? Yes, they do. It is actually one of the first. It is actually the first of the factions from the old world who got battle tome, because it was Stormcast and Bloodbound before Blades of Corn, because there were no demons in it. And then I believe it was Seraphon, and then like Pestilence was in there somewhere too. Like they were one of the oldest battle tomes. Hey Doug, how many people does it take to put out one of your AOS lore videos? How many people? Just one. Just me. It's all me. Prehistoric, if you will. Yeah, I do just about everything solo. And it's more because coordinating is not my strong suit. It is probably my weakest element, as anyone who has guested on the show can attest to, that I don't understand time zones and how that changes out. But yeah, so let's see here. We're moving on to the next part, which I am trying to decide the color I want to use. So here's a question. I'll put it to the chat. So I'm torn between doing the studio scheme and doing something more with like browns and earthy colors, kind of like I don't know, a bald eagle or a hawk, something like that. Let me see if I can find a picture. Like this guy. The red-tailed hawk. Could not have made that picture harder to see. Okay. Let me find a large one. Large. Yeah, something like this. Why is this? There we go. Yeah, with reds and browns and that kind of thing. I'm curious as to what people think. Let's see. Do-yourself color schemes are better than studio schemes, says Atomic Topher. Okay. That hot coloring would be epic. Okay. I'm thinking about it. It would look... It's mainly for this guy, right? He is the one with the most wing stuff, right? Everyone else has like feathers here and there and that kind of thing, but like he's the guy who takes the cake when it comes to... I don't know. Looking birdie. I'm just pulling up a few other ones here. That one's a little one tough because there is some white patches, but there are hawks that are brown like that have more brown to them, basically. So I think we'll go for something like that. Just kind of want to plan out how I want them to look, because usually I fall into the habit of not doing that thing, and I end up being very, very sad. Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. I got this, fam. All right. Bum, bum. Nope, don't need that. What are you? So probably you. You. Might be too muted. I'm not sure what the highlight color is going to be. I'll build it up a little bit with some lighter browns and that kind of thing. I don't need that guy. Cool. That's a good point, though. Not to like. Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, it's gonna have splotches. So basically, what I plan on doing is, I really like mixing the contrast paints like across the model, and so what I'm going to do basically is do them all with the skeleton horde, and then go back with another brown, which is probably going to be Gorgruntifer or maybe Agros Dunes, and build it up, and so that way the tips of the feathers are still that light skeleton horde color, and then the browns are kind of building in behind it, and then give it a dry brush with something like Ushapti Bone and Screaming Skull to kind of like bleed them all together. So just to kind of, as that also makes a nice crisp edge highlight for that kind of stuff. So that's the plan. And if I hate it, I got a second one of these guys. That's what I do. I just experiment, try stuff out. As Bob Ross says, we don't make mistakes, just happy accidents. And if you don't know, Bob Ross is the patron saint of this channel. Remember, kids, contrast for textured surfaces only. Yep, that's exactly right. And basically, this is just for the feather and the fur part, so that's exactly what it's great for. Okay. Lack of gray sear spray is handicapping. Oh no, a lot of your progress. That's a bummer. There's nothing worse than being ready to hobby. Oh, that's also blew out of there. Being ready to hobby, but then you don't have the supplies or the tools. For some reason, I always forget glue whenever I'm like about to do hobby stuff. I don't know why. It is almost always glue. So yeah, right now I'm just going through and picking out a whole bunch of feathery bits. Now, so because I'm going with a more earthy color on the wings and that kind of stuff, right? Those browns and that kind of thing. What do you think would be a good color for him specifically? He has this cowl over his head and it kind of comes back to the wings too. So I'm curious what you guys think, because actually in that case, the black might look really cool because it'll be really striking at that point. But I could also do something to give him a dash of color, like do it, I don't know, blue or red or something like that. I think black looks more doomy. Yeah. Stick with a desert theme and make it orange brownish. Interesting. Nighthawk Gloom. Okay, so a very dark. All right, that's the dark one, right? Yeah, okay, that's the Hexwraith Flame is the bright one. Yeah, yep, okay. Let's see. Catching all these little details. Okay. And normally I do like batch and grab the next guy, but you know what? While we're still kind of testing the scheme, I'll just stick with him for right now. It seems like a smart plan. I missed a spot right up in his body. And I'll pause here in a sec. There we go. Now I'll go see your suggestions for color. And nope. He stuffed some feathers into the bottom of his trousers where it comes out near his leg. That sounds uncomfortable. But he is bird person, so he does have to stay on brand. Okay, we're good. Let's see. Okay, so we got cold blue. Stay with the desert theme for an orange brownish. Let me think. Let's see now. Steely's and Jurab. Something like XV88's kind of a brown, which we can bring up to more of an orange. Interesting, interesting. With more orange than brown. Yeah, okay. Nighthawk Gloom. Timothy, is there much tonal difference between Gracier and Vallejo Gray? Yes. The Vallejo Gray, I believe, is more akin to like Administratum Gray. So that would be my thought. Because I use both of those. Like for the mausoleum I did, I used the Vallejo Gray, and it is very gray. But see, Gracier Gray, it's kind of like a, in quotes, it's not, it's off-white. It's grayish white, but the Vallejo one is gray, uber gray. Let's see, dark blue or red or green can be interesting. Okay. These look like new Warcry models. Why are people painting new minis for it that cannot be used in Age of Sigmar? You can use them in Age of Sigmar. These all have War Scrolls. Maybe a Blood Raven's kind of crimson? Interesting. Peacock Cabal Band. Elysian Green for the forest theme. That's an interesting one too. Mr. Piggy, in terms of your question, you can jump around, do whatever you want. For me, when I get a new battle tome, I'll start reading it from the beginning, and the second they mention a type of unit or character that I don't know, I skip ahead to where they have lore about the individual units of that, and so it kind of increases my context, and then I go back to read it. That's not like, there's no right way to read it. You just read the darn thing however you want, but for me, like, because I'm always thinking about putting it into a video, that's how I do it. But like I said, no wrong way. So no one's playing Necromunda in Seattle? There is a group, but it meets on Monday nights, and they're pretty irregular. Like, they play... Necromunda is one of their, sets of games. Right now they're all about AOS, slow grow leagues, and Warcry and Kill Team. So there's not a dedicated, Kill Team, which is actually very much a bummer. Let's see. Thanks for answering questions. Oh, I'm happy to. Happy to. Let's see. Is Clan Wars viable? I only ever see tons of guns scryer. By themselves, that's any one of... Actually, I need to go backward for a hot second. Any of the Skaven clans on their own is rough. That's actually one of the things that turned me off from the book, is like they gave you rules for being able to make a clan-specific army. And normally I'd be just like, oh yeah, we'll take their battalion. That should be their thematic thing, but the battalions are so rough. So rough. Let's see. You like skink flesh blue, so I really light blue? Interesting. Connor, any suggestions, Doug? I like aggro, but tricky playstyles. Fun, squiggy gobos. Connor, suggestions for... Oh, you mean in terms of like a Warcry warband? Honestly, like, Gloomspite Gits are super good. I played against them the other night. What you do is you pin someone down with a grot who's just there to die, and then you bring a squig, and squigs are like little tiny wrecking balls, and just mess some stuff up. And that's how it works. You pin a guy down, you have a bunch of little guys there, you pin people down, bring in something that can help actually take, deal damage and that kind of stuff. I forgot what I was just about to do. Tell you what, I'm gonna go to the color wheel. I've never done this before, so I'm gonna just look and see what could work for me. So the color wheel is telling me that, like, with the kind of dark, I'll show you, with the kind of brown that I'm going to build this thing up towards, this kind of blue, which to whoever said it, ding ding ding, is the Gloom whatever Nighthaunt paint, is its complementary counterpart. So that is an interesting thing that I did not know. So yeah, I'm still thinking about it. I don't want them to look too drab. That's the only thing that holds me... Vincy, bam. That's the only thing that holds me back from doing the desert theme. Just a guideline. Oh, I know, it's just a guideline. 100%. But I need guidelines, because then I don't want to end up with this warband the same way I felt about my blue Iron Jaws, where I finished him the first time I painted him and was like, I hate the way this army looks. Straight up. Okay. So now what I'm doing is building up some parts of the feather with snakebite leather. I realize the Chaos Dwarfs look exactly like blades of corn, but short. I like the Chaos Dwarf models. They appeal to me. I don't have enough faith that they're going to be around forever to jump in. Because at least if you jump in with like... oh, what's his name? Tomarkin's horde, right? Yeah, at the end of the day, if they get rid of that, that sucks, but you still got a Nurgle army with a really cool looking model. Use the color wheel, and if looking for an accent color, just take recommended shade and set it up. Yeah. Yeah, I do look at the color wheel like, what's his bucket? Barbosa, right, with the Pirates Code. It's just guidelines, but guidelines are good sometimes. And I apologize if that reference was lost on people. Most of my dialogue is just quoting movies and that kind of thing. I remember I was dating Jess, and I just talked my normal speech. But then I was like, "Hey, have you ever watched Futurama?" And she's like, "No, I never did." And so then I had her watch it, and then she realized slowly that I am not clever, that I've just been quoting Futurama. Which she told me, and then it was immediately like, no, babe, I was just messing with you. And then it's like, no, I know. I know that you know. Now I need a thumbnail of Douglas Barbosa. I can do that. That shouldn't be too hard. Okay, yeah, it's starting to pop. You can already see, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but the white stripe where the first layer of feathers, like that's just the skeleton horde showing, and then the thinned out snakebite leather is on top of that. And then I'll do one more with, what's the next one? Probably a thinned out wildwood. Our Daughters of Cain, Melusai in Warcry. There's all kinds of stuff. You have Melusai, which are the snake ladies with javelin or spears and the bow and arrow, or you can have all the different variants of the daughter, like the actual elf lady who's just angry at the world. And I have to paint them like parrots. Ugh, that's not... Actually, I did seriously consider, and I might do it for like a giveaway at some point, is doing a Toucan Sam Warband. How are we going to get to Archeon? Follow your nose, says the Chaos Gods. So anyway, that might be a thing that happens in the future. Okay, serial killer warband. Oh, that'd be amazing. One day, if they ever make it so you can like customize, like truly customize a warband, I would do that, because I would take the Iron Golem's Ogre Breacher and make him Tony the Tiger. What would the Dwarden be? Would he be Lucky from Lucky Charms? I'm not sure if that's offensive. So this model isn't the leader. From what I understand, it is not. Lady Corbeau, as you have named her, is actually, I believe, the leader. He might be. I haven't actually seen the War Scroll card. I know it's one of these two. Any more Shadespire lore on the way? Yes, actually, I began working on lore for the... I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. Illerith's Guardians, the Sylvaneth warband, because I already had my Sylvaneth book and that kind of stuff out, so it just kind of seemed easier to kind of wrap that one up. So yeah, that it is definitely coming out. I hope to have it out Monday of next week. Like I said, whenever I do these narrative battle reports, they just take all the time in the world, so I don't get any chance to prep videos for that week. It's just the cost of it. Unfortunately, I'm not like mini wargaming where they just have a guy who just edits. All hail Lady Corbs. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool name, so I dug it so much. I was like, yes. And so she will have her own path to glory, so to speak, because this warband is going to be the center of my narrative campaign that I do for Warcry, which I'm very excited about. And so basically, so for folks who enjoyed my narrative battle report that I just put out, just to kind of give you a sense of what I'm thinking. Migration to Glory, I dig it. To give you a sense of what I'm kind of like thinking about for doing for that. Basically, the idea is Lady Corbeau, Madame Corbeau, has a vision that she's to pursue Archeon and become a part of his grand army. And so she does just that. She sets out, but the Chaos Wastes are a dangerous place. And so I have just basically, I'm going to kind of loosely follow the format that they have for her actual, quote unquote, campaign. But I'm going to inject a few things. Like, for example, at one point they will be captured and put into a gladiatorial arena. And so I'm going to already have plans. I'm working with my local GW store manager to build a real arena. And I don't just mean like I'm going to use parts from the Sigmarite, like the actual Sigmar train. I can't think of what it's called right now. The Storm Vault thing. But build it and construct it in a way that there's like obstacles and blades on the walls and that kind of stuff, and make it like a super chaosy thing. And then have her just go toe to toe with all the worst things in the 8 points. So I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I have to get this fully painted, and I want to play with it a little bit, just like in real life, so I get used to the way that the warband functions and that kind of stuff. So I'm not making derpy mistakes. Misunderstanding ability rules, that kind of thing. Let's see. Connor, sorry to ask, but Warcry is small. How many models do you use? Is there points and different stats? Yes, it is. It is its own game. It uses, there's some model crossover, but for the most part, you kind of got to think of it as its own beast. And while that might seem like, it's a pain in the butt to learn a whole new thing, and it is, most assuredly, the fact that rebuilding the system from the ground up allows them to rebalance everything. And, Gryph-hounds aren't great in AOS, but they are MVPs for me in Warcry. Holy crap. They're my favorite thing since sliced bread. So, I have won many a game with them, thanks to the darting attack ability. So what I'm painting right now is just their pants, their trousers. I'm keeping with the theme of having like a dark reddish brown, which I love. Gorgonta fur is actually one of my favorite paints. This guy is coming along. He is looking awesome. Connor, yeah. So, Connor, depending on what army you have, you can look go to the official Warcry site, and you can see if your army is listed amongst the ones who are in there, and specifically what units, because it's not for every unit. That's important to remember. So like for Stormcast, it only involves hold on a second. It only involves a few units from the Vanguard Chamber, the Hunters, the Scouts, which makes sense based on they're kind of a scouting party. Connor, yeah. If you have Gloomspite kits already, that's like your army. They are tons of fun. And all of a sudden, the music stopped. Why did the music stop? Weird. Okay, and so right now I'm actually going to the Games Workshop site because I need to see if his hands are gloves or if they are bare skin. Kind of both. Okay, that's annoying. He has like gloves that go out to like midway on his fingers, and then it becomes skin again, so that's okay. If you all hear a baby screaming outside, that's just the way it is when you live in an apartment. This guy is looking awesome. Okay, so we need to get that cloak done. So let me go back to my handy dandy color wheel. So what do I need? I need something. Give me 1 second. I'm just looking for paints here. The coolest kind of gloves. Okay, so Tech Green's not too far off. No. So far, stick it on scale base seems to be pretty darn close. Occupied darkness, okay. If you can't see, I'm just holding it up to the screen to kind of get a sense of how it compares. How's this one? Nah. Kind of dig the way Thunderhawk looks. Let's try it out. This paint pot's on its last leg, so I gotta kind of. The one Doug's painting is some guy in a Birdman costume. It's exactly what he is. He's Bird Person from Rick and Morty. That's what I keep calling him. Now comes the time where I actually have to start being careful. Start acting like a skilled painter so I don't start destroying stuff. Connor's chance helped me a lot. Oh, I'm glad we could. I'm going to skip this song because I do not care for it. I want to get back to the music that matters, like sexy salsa dancing for no reason. You know, I gotta say, he is looking pretty cool. Especially after we darken this down a smidge and then build it back up. And I'll hold it up to the camera here in just a hot second. Okay. Doing up iron golems when I get them, like my blood warriors, and mixing them in when no one's looking. I think they look great to like mix in that kind of stuff. If someone asked me if they could basically just like, can I run these iron golems as blank, you know, chaos warriors, that kind of stuff? Yes. Always yes. Can't paint doing the lambada. Okay, so I'll hold them up here for y'all. And so it's not quite done yet because the contrast needs some more time to dry, and once it does, then I will do one more little light highlight to make the tips of each individual feather kind of pop a little bit more and kind of bring it all together. But I like the tone, I like where it's at, and so we'll yeah, once the what's it called? What did I use? Thunderhawk Blue? Yeah, Thunderhawk Blue dries. I'll be able to go in and do a wash, add some shadows, that kind of stuff. I'm excited. Connor, Doug, what do you think of the contrast paints? I'm unsure if I should pick them up or not. I'm using a bunch of them. I never felt compelled to go out and buy all of them like some people did. What I would say, and Oaksan just said it perfectly, don't look at them as, when GW was selling the contrast paints, they made it seem like it's contrast or normal paints. And what I'm telling you is, if you want to love what you can do, you do them both. So for example, like this guy I just did in front of you, we used a contrast for the feathers and a base paint for, like a base paint meaning like a typical, you know, normal paint for the cloak. I did the contrast on the feathers, and I'm going to go dry brush with a normal paint, a Ushabti bone, to kind of pick up the edges and that kind of stuff. Think of contrast as a cheat to do your base coat and your wash, because it functionally is just a heavy wash. But if you want to make contrast look really good, you just do something to add a little extra highlight, and it goes so far. The purely contrast armies, they look fine. They're tabletop, you know, battle ready is the thing that they say. It's exactly what they deliver on. But just that one little highlight goes so far to making them stand out. Like, it goes from being acceptable, and so for some people, like, tabletop is all they want, and they're so proud of themselves for that, and I am proud of you for it. But if you wanted to go like just a little hair above, yeah, it's perfect to just contrast and then one color. And so I think I should really do a video that kind of like surmises the best highlight for the right contrast. So for example, I think that Ushabti Bone is just a no-brainer when it comes to the Skeleton Horde, which is kind of the contrast bone color. Yeah. So yeah, for the, what is it, what's it called? For the Blood Angels Red, Evil Sun Scarlet is a fantastic highlight. Okay, so here we are with some Scorpion Skull. Let's see. But I do like them. I just don't think they're the end-all be-all. I don't think that they're good on their own, like, you know, exclusively contrast, that kind of thing. One second. Just testing how far I can get the paint into the bristles here. Okay. They're only half the miracle paints they were hyped as. That's a really great way to say it. They are a... I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They're a fantastic tool in the toolbox, and they are. And if they, like... That's more than enough. You know what I mean? They didn't have to be miraculous or, like... anything like that. They could have just said, like, hey, here's a cool new exciting option for you. And it's like, yeah, dude. Their rollout, I think, was a little bit not my fave. And the fact that so many people couldn't even get their hands on them to start testing this stuff out. I was like, whoa. Okay. I'm glad it's behind us. Let's say that. Yes, I am very glad that the promotion hype for Contrast is behind us. Starting to get real tired of it only being about Contrast. Wordbearer's Red is a godsend. I have not tried that one. Kinsey, is Wordbearer's Red, does that have a metallic hue to it, or is it strictly just a dark red? It's a highlight for dark red. Oh, okay, I did not know that. For some reason I thought it was a base color. Well, I made a happy little accident here. Accidentally clipped some of the blue and dragged it into the earthy colors. That's okay. We'll just go right back over with this. And just like that, a multitude of sins are covered. Booyah. And I'll just go back and clean that up with a dry brush later. Sweet. Like I said, no mistakes. Alright, so what do we got next? Next we're checking out... We're going to do black on all of the straps, I think. Just so they pop on like all dark stuff. I want to move away from some of the earthy tones on every single thing. What is everyone else working on now? I heard a few people shout out their current projects. Being the Untamed Beast. Grass paint that. A lot of folks are having trouble. Is this still live? Yes, just for a little bit longer. While I just do some filing touches. Basically, I'm going to try to get it to a point where everything just needs to dry for a bit. Rubric Marines. Got the big Gatling gun. Icon of Flame. That's awesome. Aesthetically, the Unmade win for me. Nice. You know, the Unmade, they don't grip me, which is so surprising to me. Sorry, I have a terrible hiccup today. So surprising me they don't grab me because like all the elements of stuff that I like is there, but for some reason I don't know. Maybe if I saw the models in person, it's kind of how I was with the snake dudes. I didn't care for them for the longest time, and then I saw them in person the other day, and I was like, okay. I'm on board now. Okay. I certainly would never want to do this model in sub-assemblies, but once he's built, getting these little cracks and crevices with some of this, the wood effect is not super convenient. I'm saying on the Unmade, they come across as a bit cliche. You know what it is? It's just that, like, if you were to say to me, hey, Doug, I got an idea for a warband. I'm like, okay, I'm all ears. And you're like, they rip their own faces off and they wear them on their belt buckles. I'm like, dude, I'm in, right? Like, oh, they're totally horror, like lots of body horror, which is my favorite kind of thing. Looks super scary, from Shy-ish, like all these things, you're just like checking the boxes, and I'm like, I like everything you're saying. Replacing their arms with like crude instruments, I'm like, totally in it. And then when I saw the models, I'm like, but the way that they brought those things together, I don't know, it just didn't. Everything's there on paper that I should be like, this is clearly targeted towards me specifically, I feel like. But I don't know, it just didn't grip me. But I mean, I love all that horror stuff. If there was a movie with those guys in it, it would probably be my favorite movie. But just in terms of the models, I'm like, nah. I'm not sure what causes that. I struggle to articulate it. was just pushing in a little bit of the contrast paint to the very, very, very tight edges, just to kind of get that last little bit of pop. It's because I want the, the end of one feather, which is a lighter color, and the beginning of another feather, and the row behind it to be better defined. Okay. Churning out pretty dang good. That blue is pretty thin, so it's going to need a little more time to dry. Let's bust out that skin color. Since apparently we missed the fingers on these dudes. Well, my local stores didn't get their additional warbands in. That's a bummer, man. Felt better about them after reading the anthology. I have not read that yet, but definitely should. It's not like I run a lore channel or anything. Okay. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm really, really excited about how this guy came together. I'm glad went with the hawk theme rather than the raven. Cypher Lords it is. Sweet. Haven't been too high on the Realm of Fire since getting into the game, but the Signs of Flame with their quasi-religious vibe seem fascinating. Yes, I haven't... I've mostly been reading the rules because I wanted to make sure I didn't get the battle report wrong, but I do want to go back and read a bunch of the lore for the various factions and like really dive in there because some of them just seem so stinking interesting. Oh god, the Splintered Fang. If you're waiting for one of the warbands to seem so over the top better than the others that it speaks to you, I think you're out of luck, my friend. I say that because they're all pretty stinking cool. Since I can't get the Snake and Bird Boys, I'm painting a Gitz warband. That's awesome. I played against the Gitz on Thursday and had an absolute blast. There's a local friend named Max who he's kind of like, not sure if I want to buy into this whole game, because he bought into what kill team. He bought into Necromunda. You know, he's just one of those guys who loves the skirmish games. And so it's like, well, another one. Which, to be fair, is the thought of many, many people. I was like, oh, you know, don't spend a dime on it. Let me bring my copy. I know he had Night Goblins from Fantasy Battle days. It's like, you know, just bring those things out. I brought my faction cards. We gave him a demo, and I mean, I thought his army was awesome. He was certainly kicking my tail. I had my bone splitters out that night. Do you think we need a refresh of the book? Wait, hold on a second. Doug, do you think we need to refresh on the book for 2+ tomes? Yeah. Honestly, I might pass on Blade Garden for right now. Maybe not. I don't know. If I'm 100% honest, I'd much rather read the Warcry anthology. Just to stay up to date a little bit more, but I understand. Okay. All the cool Splintered Fang gets wrecked by those serpent minis. You don't like the serpents? Crazy, man. I love it all. I love all of it. I mean, I'm the most unabashed fanboy when it comes to these warbands. For the most part, I can find something I like about every single one of them. I will eventually have them all, so I can record them all, but right now I want to learn the game first before I start, you know, faction hopping like I do for AOS. And since these guys seem to be, I don't know, Shoot from Rolling One is convinced that these guys are going to be amazing because they have lots of models in their warbands. They have access to cheap dudes. And he thinks that their damage stat line is pretty good. I watched Grotz with a similar stat line bounce off of a Morboy and do nothing, so we disagree, but real life experience will decide. I think they're going to be interesting. That's actually most thing why I'm excited about them, because I think they're going to be interesting because of all of their interactions with terrain play. Do I make the anthology official? Yeah, let's do it. Pick it up at your leisure, and then at the beginning of September, I'll announce it. That'll be our September book. Just listen to Play Garden. Good book, but it's like reading a book. I think your message got cut off. All right, so we'll grab some nail oil. Time to wash the cowl here. It's like reading a book in the middle of a series. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Please forgive the silence. I'm trying to be very, very careful with where I put the wash. So my plan for this army is to basically paint them as if they were all heroes in how I paint Age of Sigmar armies, where I spend a lot more time on heroes. I know a lot of people do, like, I just crank out infantry very, very fast and then dedicate a lot of time to heroes just because, you know, they're more important to me and they're funner to paint typically. But, you know, we only got like 9 to 12 guys. You can spend a little more time. Let's see. I thought that Torglug / Tornus would have more backstory, to be honest. He's got the books and I'm like, oh, he's just a dude. Yeah, he is basically just a dude. He does have a bit more in the Rome Gate Wars, but... Okay, so let's just plan on that. We'll pass on Play Garden for Neo. I really like how they showed the human side of Nurgle worshippers. Like, they weren't evil, they just followed a different religion. That's interesting. That's the kind of stuff that I like. Okay, let's see here. Are you excited all these warbands can be used as slaves to darkness? I want them to get specific rules, like slaves to darkness, I mean. But yeah, eventually. So this is what we're working with here, people, if you're paying attention and watching. So we got Bird Person, Hawkman. This light it brightens him up quite a bit. I'll get some pictures probably this weekend of him fully done. I have a little bit more touch-ups to do, like some feathers I didn't realize were like they're on the cowl rather than being like on the body part, so I have to go back and redo those. But that won't take very long. But and then do a few highlights on just the upper parts, and I think he'll be pretty much really darn near good to go. So I'm very excited about that. Jack says they have rules. I mean, they have like allegiance ability in GHB, and like the War Scrolls have rules, but I mean, like, I want a Slaves to Darkness battle tome is what I mean when I say rules. Just not good rules. Post a pic in Messenger. All right. Jack's being selfish and wants to see the model in our chat we have. Yeah, even then the color is not quite picking up quite right. Nope. Oh, 1 sec, everybody. Well, Jack, I'm having trouble really capturing it, but I'll send you what I can. Oh, my monitors went out. Listen, I've been MIA for a bit. There's a Discord. Yeah, it's in the description. It should be. Basically, the guys at Rerolling Ones are doing a Discord, and were kind enough to let me just basically hop along because I didn't want to like moderate my own, but they're pretty great people in there, and there's lots of chat going on. So there's channels in the Discord specifically for Rerolling One feedback, for my feedback, Warcry, narrative gaming, competitive gaming, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can find pretty much whatever you're looking for. There are some pretty spicy hot takes when it comes to the competitive gaming section, just a fair warning sometimes. But that is for you to decide. I like him. I'm just saying there can be hot takes, you know what I mean? Where like there was a good 2 weeks where every time I tried to engage with that channel, I got like, well, can it play against Gristlegore? And I'm like, not everything has to play against Gristlegore. Well, it can't be Gristlegore. It's like, shut up. That's funny. Tell you what, let me see. Boop, boop. I will pull the picture up so I can show you on screen. Here we go. In case you're curious what he looks like. So that's how our bird person looks right now. There's our picture. Like I said, it's a hair brighter. The matte background kind of dulls the colors a smidge with the camera, but that is pretty much what he looks like. But yeah, obviously the blue looks a little more bluey. There's some spicy takes on the GHB when it came out. Yep, I agree. I mean, that's a universal as far as like the Cities of Sigmar book. It was a good dividing line between what people are willing to take and what they're not willing to take. It's like, But there's plenty of awesome people. Believe Oathstone is on this channel. He had a Free People's Army, and like, you know, expressing disappointment and upsetness is not a problem, but it's when you try to take other people's joy, it becomes an issue. So we haven't had too much of that. Clinton Hayes got on. I want to say thanks. Bought a starter set today. Sweet. Oh man, that's awesome, Clinton. Hope you enjoy it. What army did you grab? I'm curious. Some Fenrisian Gray, and we're just gonna do the lightest of highlights on our Fenrisian. What is it called? Stormhawk? I almost called it Seahawk Gray, but that's dumb because I just live near the Seahawks. Stormcast and Undead. Sweet. That's awesome, man. Well, welcome to the addiction. Welcome back, I should say. You said you played before. And now I'm just going to do a couple quick highlights. Think about getting the cabal. Do you think they're too weak to get kills? I'm going to say no. I think they can get kills because they have the numbers to just throw at people. But what I would say is I don't think killing is their goal. I think scenario play is their goal based on all their movement abilities and that kind of stuff. One of their coolest abilities that I like is that a couple of these guys in the army have birds, like just on their arms or something like that. And they can basically send the bird out and pin an enemy down so they can't disengage. So if your opponent doesn't have enough models to go capture an objective, you can throw one of these scrubs, right, these crappy grunts at them, and then pin them down with the bird, and all of a sudden they can't disengage. They can't go anywhere. They can't reach the objective. So I think that's kind of their jam more than killing outright. But I mean, if you throw enough activations at anything, weighted dice will do something. I need to see more bat reps. The ones I've seen used random minis from the starter set and missions. I don't know if I've seen a battle report where they used random models, but everyone that I've seen is using, like, yeah, just the starter set ones, which does get, I think, very repetitive, because if I have one complaint about the two-player starter set is I wish they had included different factions. I think the Iron Golems was a great choice, but I think the other one, the Untamed Beasts, although they are awesome and I want them to be a faction, having two just melee focused armies I think was kind of a miss. I think having something that relied on, numbers or like ranged attacks or skewed abilities in one way, like, basically make them play different, I think would have been a stronger start. I am slowly working on a post-hype review. Kenzie, the Warcry thing will be for September. The anthology, I mean. Joseph, what's up? Just cracking open your cabal. That's awesome, man. I'm going to warn you, some of them don't go together very, very easily. Dry fit stuff. Meaning just kind of play around with it until you figure out how it locks in. Before you start adding glue to the equation and complicating stuff. They might get the starter set for Warcry? Sweet. First two pieces of the first model. Yeah, actually, so I got hung up on the first model. This bird boy was a pain in the butt. I think he's the second one you build. Basically, I found that putting the wings on almost last, like after the instructions tell you to, actually worked out better. But your mileage might vary. I tell you what, let's do that picture thing again because I want to show you one of my favorite color combinations. Is actually doing Thunderhawk blue as a base and then grabbing Fenrisian gray of all things, which normally would be a little bit too bright, a little too garish in terms of like the step up, but if you thin it out a lot and you stipple it on pretty lightly, actually you can make it really good highlights. Let me open new image and I'll share that with you. So that's now our cloak that's been washed and has a highlight layer on it. So really the only things left to do for him again is to go back once all that stuff dries and touch up those specific feathers. I want to do, there's some like stitching like on the clothes, like literal stitches holding them together, and so I'm going to go back and do that, and I have to just do a wash on the metal part of the claws, which actually I'll just do right now, so that way everything's drying while I'm away. You see the Pokemon Go app? Absolutely. I'm trying to lose some weight. I am very overweight, and so having something to do when I'm walking around, it's nice. All these last few days, it's been so stinking hot out here because my work, we don't really have the best air conditioning, and so like, if I go out for a walk on my lunch break, I come back and I'm gross for the rest of the day. So it's like I don't want to be the gross, sweaty guy at work. Nobody wants to be that guy. Which is your favorite warband this far? These guys, honestly, they were the ones that really hooked me when I started releasing stuff for the game. And I'm most excited about building them. So when I saw a store that had them yesterday, I was like, yikes, done. Let's get to work. So, alright. Well, friends, it is now 8 o'clock my time. I gotta hop off and make my lovely wife, who's infinitely patient and amazing, some grub, and I will see y'all next time. Probably not tomorrow, but certainly over the weekend, because I'm going to be painting up the rest of these guys pretty quickly, because I'm very, very excited about them. And I will see you all very, very soon. And happy wargaming.